Hi everybody, Matt Bernier in the Daily Racing Forum studios, taking a look at the Sweetest Chant at Gulfstream Park on Saturday afternoon. It is race number 6. If you're playing, you should be playing with DRF bets. Up to a $200 free bet, no deposit is required. Head on over to drf.com/join and the promo code is freebet09. Here's the field for the Sweetest Chant. These are 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile on the turf course. You've got a pretty nice full field in this race, and you can go a number of different ways. Let's start off by taking a look at some of the main contenders in this spot, and we'll begin with the morning line favorite in here. That would be the number 4, Data Dependent. She's 3-1 on the morning line for Chad Brown, and we know that Chad Brown does basically everything well, but particularly on the turf. The turf is where he really cut his teeth. You get Javier Castellano aboard as far as the rider is concerned, and from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, she stacks up particularly well, and you can even go back and look at her 2-year-old form and say that she stacks up well from a Beyer standpoint. She ran a Beyer as a 2-year-old, a 77. That's good enough, and it makes her a contender here in this spot. You see at the bottom of the screen there her 3 most recent Beyer speed figures, and I've already mentioned that she goes out for Chad Brown and Javier Castellano. You can always count on some good things happening when those two team up. As far as on the more negative side of things, she's coming off of a 2-month layoff, so she's going to need to move forward if she's going to be competitive in a spot like this or really get the job done. And the other thing is she might be forced to rally into moderate fractions. Later on, we will consult the Timeform US pace projector, which would indicate, or may indicate anyway, that she may have her work cut out for her. That is the morning line favorite, the number 4, Data Dependent. She is 3-1 on the line. If you're looking for another contender in here, the second choice is the number 1, The Way I Am. She is a French-bred filly for Graham Motion. She's 7-2 on the morning line, and she won the Ginger Brew here last month, going 7.5 furlongs against a number of these common opponents, and that's really one of the things that's sort of a feather in her cap. She has an 80 Beyer speed figure, which she earned in that Ginger Brew, and you see the 3 most recent numbers that she has to date. There are a lot of good things going for this filly. On the flip side, and I know it's been a few months, and we talked about Data Dependent, but she was no match for Data Dependent in the lone matchup that the two had. That was out at Del Mar in the Jimmy Durante. But on the other flip side of things, you've got to look at it and say she's in good form. That is going to ultimately hurt the price, though, because you can see from a money standpoint, from a betting perspective, she's going to get bet off of that victory in the Ginger Brew. Again, the 80 Beyer that puts her right in the thick of things. She's going to be one of the horses that takes money, and one of the shorter numbers in here. That's the number 1, The Way I Am. The third choice on the morning line is the number 2, Dena Del Sur. 4-1 morning line here for Tom Albertrani. Joel Rosario retains the mount. This is a horse making the second start off of the bench. She's likely to move forward there, and she stacks up quite favorably from a Beyer speed figure standpoint with Beyers of 77 and 78 in her 2 lifetime starts. The 2 lifetime starts could be a bit of a concern at this point. You look at it and say, she is spotting the majority of this field experience, and we've seen in the past, experience goes a long way. I do think, though, second off the bench, she'll take a step forward. But if you're also looking for a bit of a knock against her, she was outkicked by The Way I Am in the Ginger Brew. And now you add in a horse like Data Dependent. You add in the other new shooter in here for Chad Brown, that's Salsa Bella. Some of these other horses, there are a lot of things that Dena Del Sur is going to need to step up and move forward on if she's going to be successful and prevail in a race like this, race number 6 at Gulfstream on Saturday. The pick for me, let's unveil that at this point, it is not one of the top 3 choices, but it is the number 3 horse. Her name is Cash Out for Rusty Arnold. Nick Juarez has the mount. This is a filly that most recently, we haven't seen her since the end of November. She ran in the Golden Rod. That was on the main track at Churchill Downs. She acquitted herself quite nicely. She ran third, a well-beaten third, but she earned an 81 Beyer. The 81 Beyer is actually the highest last-out Beyer speed figure in this entire field, including some of these other turf girls. But the reason that I'm most interested in her is because the runs 2 and 3 starts back. 3 starts back, she broke her maiden at Kentucky Downs on turf over that undulating turf course, and then she came right back and ran in the Grade 3 Jessamine over a very, very wet racetrack down at Keeneland. But the reason I'm most interested in that race, she was not close, but she was one of the first to make a move into the teeth of the pace. It had a very, very hot pace in the Jessamine. She was wider than wide throughout, and she wasn't totally embarrassed. She was only beaten by 3 1/4 lengths by a filly called Rushing Fall, and those of you that are familiar with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf, you'll know that Rushing Fall was eventually the champion of that race. She won the Breeders' Cup. So I think Cash Out has been keeping good form. I think this is probably what she is. I think she's a turf horse. If you think that she can continue on and translate that dirt form that she had in that Golden Rod over here to the Sweetest Chant on Saturday, she has a big, big chance at 8-1 odds on the morning line. That is the number 3 Cash Out. If you are playing, you should be playing with DRF bets. Again, all sorts of good deals, but particularly a $200 free bet. No deposit is required. Head on over to drf.com/join, and the promo code is FREEBET09. Race number 6 at Gulfstream on Saturday, the Sweetest Chant. Scheduled post time is 2:30 Eastern, 2:30-ish. Best of luck.